Hi everybody, Father Bill Holzinger here, and this is your Friday Reflection, and I'm here in the parish house as I was last time, and I want to talk to you once again about one of the governing bodies in our parish. Last time I talked about pastoral councils. Our pastoral council, what is it? What do they do? How do you get on it? That's the basics I gave. And I'm going to do the same thing here for what I call, or it's commonly called in our archdiocese, an admin council. And again, the information comes, the first part, from the Code of Canon Law, which is basically the law book of the church regarding governance and a whole bunch of other things, governing of sacraments, etc. So there's not much said about pastoral councils, and there's not much said specifically about admin councils other than this. So the law is numbered and what they call canon. So this is Canon 537, and I read this. Each parish is to have a finance council which is regulated by universal law as well as by norms issued by the diocesan bishop. In this council, the Christian faithful, selected according to the same norms, aid the pastor in administration of parish goods with due regard for the prescription of Canon 532. 532. Let's take a look at 532. So go to that. 532. Moving right back. 532 says this. The pastor represents the parish in all juridic affairs in accord with the norm of law. He is to see to it that the goods of the parish are administered in accordance with the norms of Canon 1281 and 1288. Of course, I'm not going to get into that. It's getting down to a rat hole. But the basic idea is the pastor, that'd be me, I'm responsible for the financial and the physical goods of the parish. Now, here's the quagmire of all this, and that is how many pastors have an MBA? Well, not many, though I can think of one right off the bat. Our neighbor at St. Cecilia, Father Mike Walker, has an MBA, and he's pretty good at that stuff. For me, I was a high school math teacher, so I can, do some things when it comes to like adding and subtracting, and I can read some of our financials, things like that. But I look towards some other people to kind of give me guidance, and that is what an admin council is. So again, we're to establish, and they call it a finance council, which, by the way, a council and a committee are different things. A council is something that's kind of a higher level in a parish. A committee can be many different things, because we also have a finance committee at the school, which is subordinate to this admin council, and we'll get to that later. So it's regulated by universal law, it's norms by the diocesan bishop. So Archbishop Sample can give directives and abilities to an admin council or give them tasks to do if that is called for. And also for me to then use this council as an advisory committee. Just like pastoral council is advisory, the admin council is advisory. So that kind of gives a lot of, let's say, power to a pastor. And if he doesn't wield that power or use that power wisely, it can go bad very quickly. And this is why we need to listen to our folks on the admin council. The document Lumen Gentium speaks about the role of laity, and it's something that I encourage you to look into. That's a document from the Second Vatican Council, and it speaks about the role and the obligation of the laity to help in the guidance of a parish, but also it challenges pastors to listen to them, because they have expertise, especially now these days, than ever before, more than a pastor would in certain areas, again, like finances and possibly facilities. Now, again, some are great about this. Some pastors are. I know, at least, that I'm ignorant and not an expert at most things, and so I really need these folks. So, on an admin council, at least in ours, and my history, I've always tried to do this, I usually like to have some people on there that are owners of businesses that have, they're self-employed, they know how to run a business. Someone who is a lawyer who knows, the legalness of the law, the rules, so we don't get ourselves into a quagmire. Or if something happens, they can give me some guidance about what is a good idea. Or maybe we're going to be doing some acquisitions or something that involves some kind of legality with it, maybe contracts, things like that. A lawyer gives some good advice. So attorneys are great to have on that. Also, I like to have engineers or people who are contractors, because they can give me a sense of if there's a project to be done, how big of a project is this? Is this something that is critical to be done now, or can we put it off? Like a roof or something like that. And so those are the things that a contractor can give us, but also they can give us advice and give me advice as to what are good companies to pair with when it comes to the specifics of a project. On that also, I've had actually in my past, I've had a city manager, I've had the chief of police, I've had the chief of the fire department on my admin councils in the past. I've had a real estate agent, I've had a person at large, I've had a principal. There's just a lot of different people I've had on these councils, specifically admin council, so I can get a sense of what it is that we are needing to decide, and I really lean on them for their expertise. So that's the kind of makeup. So what does an admin council advise me with? Well, I think they have two things. They're in charge of giving me advice on two things. One is finances, and the other one is facilities. Finances. So we get statements from our banks, and we look at our budgets, we check where we are against our budget, what is our cash flow, how are we standing, can we pay our bills. We check to see how we are based on the previous year on our expenses and income. And then, of course, maybe we need to take some action on that. We may need to decide, do we need to cut back on certain things, or are we doing okay? And also, we need to look at our facilities. Things like, are there any repairs that need to be done? Have we done some repairs, and we need to take a look at that. What has that done to our bottom line on the income and expenses? So, for example, a week or so ago, the garage door here at the parish house, the spring broke, and well, then it trapped the car into the garage. Can't lift up the garage door. So I didn't actually go to the admin council because it wasn't an expense that was that great compared to other things. But that might be something that it will be reported to the admin council as an unexpected expense that was not part of our budgeting. But there may be some expenses we are looking into, like maybe we're looking at our, let's say, HVAC units, and then we know they're getting old, and so we're kind of projecting that we'll need to take care of these this year or next year. And so they help me prognosticate what we're going to do in the area of those things coming in the future. We also look at things like, this last year, we put in new lighting in the parking lot. I hope you noticed that when it's down dark, right? Well, that came from the admin council. We recognize that we're spending a lot of money on lighting. Maybe we need to look into different lighting that is less expensive. So we want LED lighting. Yes, we approved then an expense, put that in the budget for the lighting of the parking lot. Wonderful thing also is then we start looking for other areas to help us pay for that. So that turns out to be an archdiocesan safety grant. And every year we look to things that are around our campus as an admin council, and with Dana Morano, again our business manager, get advice as to what we should take a look at first. The actual grant only takes up to maybe 1/2 of a project to a limit of $10,000, I believe, per parish or school. And so that means separately, the school also has certain things they look at to find out what would be good to kind of increase our safety. And again, we can apply for grants for those kind of things as well. I think last year the school got some special locks put in, or we approved for special locks and fobs to be able to get into some of the doors so we could go quickly in and quickly out, those kind of things as well. So that's what the admin council does. They advise me. We take a look at what needs to be done, or what we can put off, how we might be able to save money, or what would be a more cost-effective thing. And that's really helpful to me. Now the question is, how does someone get on the admin council? I would say, similar as I mentioned, I believe last week, we're not voting people onto these councils. I'm looking for representation of our parish, but not just on like the diversity of, like, say, our cultural groups and language groups, but a diversity of people, as I mentioned earlier, they have certain skill sets, because those skill sets can help us discern what are the things that we need to take care of. And I get some great information from experts about how should we do this, what's an economical way to think of this, or if we get bids on something, we can get a reflection by some expert that is on that committee, or that council, I should say. And then we go forward. Lastly, something that the admin council does, which is very important, is they help with the budget. So Dana Morano creates the budget. She works to the chair, myself, our parish leadership team as well. And then at some point, we then give to the admin council a preliminary budget, and then they can look at it, reflect on it, give advice, and then we work on it again until the very end, which is probably around May, maybe even June. Then we come to a final draft of it, and it is then decided upon to approve. Now, how do we do that? Again, I don't do voting. That's not my style, but rather by a sense of collaboration and consensus. So I talked to everybody, so what do you think? And if there's some dissenting views, let's talk about that. Should we change something until we are all on board to consent on this budget? From that point, when the admin council, I believe, has this consent or this collaborative sensibility of what it is that we should do, then I officially then approve the budget. And it comes back down to me to make that final decision. In which case then we go forward and go through the year. We do actually do this. This is something I like, is that before us is not just the parish financials, but also the school financials. So even the school budget then, which is done by Damon Morano, our business manager, in this case also our principal, which would be Ann Irwin, Dr. Irwin, and between them they would then come up with a budget. You might find that this next coming year we'll have the finance committee of the school kind of help out with some ideas in that budget. But what we want to do is get as much help to make it accurate. This last year, then I decided we want to get it's kind of a snapshot of where we are about halfway through. So come December-ish, we start to look at then, okay, we passed through Christmas. Where are we and how are we looking to finish the year with the school and with the parish? And again, the further out we are from the end of the year, the more, wiggle room there is, because we don't know exactly how it'll be. But there's basically two big times that are income for the parish, and this is the case for all parishes, and that would be Christmas and Easter, when lots of people are in the pews giving when they come to Mass. When we get through December, we'll have a great sense of the financials going halfway through the year. And even though it's a little bit more than halfway through the year, we get a good sense of where we are, both for the school and for the parish. And then can we make some prognostications on that, etc. So that's what's going on. That's what a admin council does, and it is very important to me. The interaction between the pastoral and admin council can be this, though. Maybe the pastoral council decided we want to do this thing, whatever it is, which is mission driven. Maybe it literally is a mission, or maybe it's a speaker, or it's some program or something. We want to do X, Y, Z. That then may mean we have to spend some money, and it might be significant, in which case I'm not going to just approve it. I'll say it's a great idea, let's bring that to the admin council, and it's the decision of the admin council if we can afford it or not. And that might go back to pastoral council. It's a difficult situation, we may or may not be able to do that. There may be some going back and forth between those groups to try to come to an idea. And yes, and all during that time, I could just put my foot down and say, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go forward with X, Y, Z. And sometimes we'll maybe need to even pull out money from savings to do something, that's important. So that's kind of the interaction between the two of them. Now, again, after this, you may see other descriptions of our councils or our committees. That would be our parish leadership team or committee, our school advisory committee, and then our finance committee of the school. So that's 3 more groups, and that'll go out into January or so. So that's what's happening in that regard. And I also just want to thank you for listening. This coming weekend, Deacon Brett is going to be preaching, and so I ask you to pray for him. This is going to be the Solemnity of Christ the King, and so we've kind of, this day, again I'm recording this on a Wednesday, our liturgy committee has met. We kind of reviewed my homily from last week, and we kind of talked to then Deacon Brett. He brought some ideas forward, and we kind of bounced around other ideas. He'll send that to prayer and craft the homily. So please pray for him so he may be able to share with his heart the things that the church is teaching based on this solemnity that we as a parish need to hear. God bless you all. Have a great Thanksgiving. God bless. Bye-bye.